Hello and welcome.
Hello, I'm early.
Welcome. I love early comers. How are you, Julia?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Hello, Veronica. Welcome. In just a minute, I'm going to put about 2 minutes. I'm going to put up the slides info so you can grab that. But let me also just put it in the chat, which I thought was here. Hang on 1 second. There we are. Hello and welcome. You'll be able to access today's slides through that link in the chat. I'll also put up the information on the screen very soon. And we will not start for 5 more minutes because it's a 2:05 start. So if you're here because you like to get there early and make sure the tech works, you can still turn off your camera and mute yourself and just go off and take 5 minutes to do whatever makes you feel refreshed and happy. And then we'll get started at 2:05. You're here with me in our session called Get the Most Out of a Chromebook. It says Para Institute. I forgot to swap out the name because I'm using the same session with paras who almost all have Chromebooks and also here at Digital District Day today. You only need to sign in once for the day. So if you already did, you're covered. If you're with us all day, you should put 7 hours. So let's say you sign in this morning, just put an hour. You can sign in again and add the other 6 hours so that it totals 7. That's all good. And if you are here, want to get paid for your PD hours, which teachers, paras, and subs can do, make sure to go to the Digital District Day homepage for information on how to do that. There's an attendee resources link you can click and you'll see it there. Let me type that in the chat. That's https://sfusd.edu. And I just put the link for Digital District Day's homepage. Again, we're about to record, or we actually just started. So you can mute your camera if for any reason you don't like having your image shown. But as a teacher, I love to see faces. I love to see the people I'm teaching. So I do encourage you to turn your video on if you're good with that. Again, we are here for get the most out of your Chromebook. I'll stop sharing my screen in a second so I can see you. I'm Steve Kiesel. I work in the Department of Technology. Got my start as a classroom teacher. I absolutely loved being in the classroom. I really love supporting teachers now too and helping them learn to be successful with tech. So, you know, and especially if they're helping their students use tech successfully, there's so much that's possible. So that's what I do now. My big focus right now is family technology support and early education support. In the chat, unfortunately, the chat is not set up with Zoom events so that everyone can see it. But if you could just in the chat tell me your name and what you most want to learn today about the accessibility tools on your device. And I say your device because you'll be able to explore almost any device you use today, not just a district device, but even your Android or iPhone. Someone asked if audio is on. It is, and I would encourage you, let me make sure closed captions are active, because if you're not able to hear me, at least you can use closed captions. Okay. If you're not able to hear me, go ahead and use the closed captions feature. I don't know how you'll know that though, because you can't hear me. Okay, if you cannot hear me, you can use the closed captions feature in Zoom at the bottom of the screen. When I'm presenting in Google Slides, the captions will appear at the top of the screen, but when I leave slides, that will disappear. Oh yeah, the link to today's slides, I'll put it one more time. You'll want this slide deck because it has some useful links in it. Let me put that in the chat right now. Oh. Okay, somebody wants to learn how to do the screenshots. I don't have a slide for that, but right now there should be, if you always turn off your Chromebook with the power off button and turn it on so that it's most up to date, all the updates have loaded, down in your control panel on the bottom right, that you click down at the corner of the screen, it sort of pops up. There's actually a new screen capture button you can click. So you don't have to learn the keyboard shortcuts, which I always forgot the keyboard shortcuts and would Google it every time. But you can now just do it from the control panel, I think. Unfortunately, we won't look at that today. So ensuring how students get the most out of their Chromebooks without getting distracted by the desire to play games. Unfortunately, I won't be able to help with that. We don't have blocking software that you can just switch on as a teacher. I'm sorry to say that. We will learn more about the Chromebook interface, and someone said students will be having more Chromebooks coming this year. Yes, actually, the district does want to have a one-to-one policy for students where if you're grades 4 and up, you can actually have a district device to take home and also get a hotspot if you don't have strong internet already at home. For grades PK through 3, we want to have one device per child at school. And we're providing the carts for that thanks to some grant funding we've gotten so that you can have the devices safe and charging at school. We will learn a lot about the tools that help you help students who have reading, writing issues, even translation issues. So that will help. Okay. Do you know if the teachers also will be given Chromebooks? You will not have your own Chromebook. However, you can ask to borrow a Chromebook from whoever is managing the technology at your school. They will probably have a couple extras on hand that you could at least sign in and just get to use it a little bit so you feel more comfortable with what the students will be using. Okay, I'm gonna get started and get to our content. Again, if you have a Chromebook, grab it. You'll be glad you have it in front of you. And today I have a couple objectives. One is I want you to become familiar with key features and settings of Chromebooks. We don't have time to go into the most basic ones like how to turn it on, and we won't talk too much about navigation, but a little bit. And then I want to overview some of the best practices that will maximize a Chromebook's performance. You can teach your kids to use these things too, so that they will help have a really well-functioning device. Reminder, please mute your audio unless you're speaking to the group. Use a chat if you have a question, and or if you need more information. Up to you whether your camera is on or off. And why do Chromebooks matters? Well, our paras have them, and and they're all over the district, so it's good to know how to support paras. If you are a para, you especially want to know how to use your Chromebook. And we are going one-to-one. As I mentioned, we really are tracking down the funding to fill in the gap so that every student who does not have a device can have access to one, at least in school, and if they're grades 4 and up, can actually take that device home with them as part of a take-home program. So a few basics about Chromebooks. So you're probably familiar with laptops because they've been around longer. They store and run a lot of software programs, but they also need frequent updates. The files are stored right on the device, which means they can't be accessed remotely. Like if you forget your device at school and you come home, you're kind of dead in the water. They need malware or antivirus protection. They can be used without the internet, like in the middle of the woods, as long as you have battery. And they are prohibitively expensive to use at scale in a large district. Then Chromebooks came along, and Chromebooks were a game changer for schools because basically it's just a Google Chrome browser with a keyboard. So everything you can access, on the internet, you can now access from this device. They don't need to be updated. Actually, they do update themselves every time you turn them on, and you don't even notice that's happening. The files are not stored on the Chromebook, but on Google's servers, so you can access them anywhere. So the malware protection is built in. You're kind of dead in the water, though, without the internet. They really do need a connection to work. There's some things you can do when you travel, like you can go to, if you're in a Google Doc, you can go to File, I think it is, and then under File, select Enable Work Offline, so that you could work on your Google Doc on the airplane, for example, without needing internet. But not a lot you can do without internet. However, because they're so streamlined, they make technology broadly available, and they've enabled large urban districts like us to actually be able to go one-to-one someday. In SFUSD, we have two kinds of Chromebooks. There is the old-fashioned classic one that looks like a laptop. I have one here. And then we started giving, especially when we started giving Chromebooks to PK through 2 students, we got Chromebook Touches, which are basically a touchscreen with a keyboard, but because of that, you can flip the screen all the way back so it looks like an iPad. And then younger kids don't have to worry about how to type with keys, or you can flip it most of the way back so that you have like a tent or a stand that supports itself. You're also welcome in our slides to go back and watch this little video that I think it was Zareen in our district made to show all the features of a Chromebook Touch. And I want you to see how easy it is if you have PK through 2 students. Their Chromebooks are set up especially for them so that when they open up the Chromebook, the camera turns on automatically. As a teacher, you can get clever badges. Your D-Leaf can help you if you don't have them. That's someone at your school, a teacher leader. You can also go into teacher view. Students can go into student view. Parents can go into parent view and get the student badge. And all they do, it's this easy. Here goes. Oh, okay. So did you see what that student did? She opened up the Chromebook, held up her badge, and suddenly she's logged into the internet. If you're like me and you've taught younger kids, you know you can spend the entire class getting everyone logged in. And now that barrier is removed. Let's talk about some key features and settings in a Chromebook. One is the keyboard is a little different, largely like a laptop, but instead of a caps lock key, you have a search key. And when you click on that, unfortunately, I can't present my screen right now in Zoom events from a Chromebook. I have to use a laptop because I can't use the browser version of Zoom. So to present. So I can't show you live, but I do have these screen captures. When you press the magnifying glass key, a little slide up comes from the bottom of your screen, and you can type in the search bar and either ask the internet something or ask Google to search your own Google Drive or ask it to find an app for you, one of your Google apps. Then there are left and right keys on the upper left of the keyboard. And those are for going, because this is for the internet, that's for the back and forward arrows that you're used to seeing at the top of your internet screen. So a back arrow goes to the previous page you were looking at. If you had already visited something before and then you backed out, the right arrow or the forward arrow goes back to that, goes to that page that you had been looking at before. There's another key that looks like a circle with an arrow that will reload your page. That's above the number 4 there. You can maximize your screen with that key that looks like a square that has 2 arrows in it. And that means if you have a window that's like very small and you click on that, suddenly it takes up the space of the whole screen, or press it again, it goes back to small. The next key is really cool. It looks like a square that has 2 parallel lines or an 11 next to it. And that shows all desktops. We'll look more at that in a second. So the way that works, let's say you are doing a research paper, you want to be writing or creating your slide deck, and you also want to be reading and you want to be able to go back and forth between those 2 things. You can actually create a virtual desk. And here's how you do it. First, you click that little plus sign. Well, first you press on that key with the square and the 2 lines. Then you'll see this drop down. It shows you all the desktops you already have set up. Press on the new desk button and an extra desktop will appear up there at the top. And then you can, let's say, click on the Chrome wheel to open a new window. And when the new window opens, you can drag it up into this new desk at the top. Now, if you have access to a Chromebook, I would say just play with that, try it out. You're not going to break your Chromebook. You can always shut it down and everything will disappear and be gone. If that whole feature is intimidating and scary, don't worry about it. It's a nice to have, not a must have. Let's look at the touchpad. The touchpad has a lot of the features that a laptop has and a few others. So take all 3 fingers on the touchpad, slide them up, and you're able to see all the different windows running on your computer at the same time. Go down again, and everything goes back to the way it was. Then you can switch between tabs, the way you would with a browser. Instead of using your mouse, just put 3 fingers and slide one way or the other. You see on the screen there, the computer is switching between tabs. To right click, which, if you have a mouse, you can right click or press the right button. Instead, you take both fingers and just push down hard on the trackpad. And that's like right clicking. So then a menu of options appears that you can do. And you'll notice they could scroll up and down in a large document just by sliding the 2 fingers up and down. So those are some trackpad features or touchpad features. To find your apps, you can click on the search key or go to the waffle, which you've probably seen in any Google screen. It's officially called the Apps Launcher, and then all of your apps will be there. Now, you can also change the brightness either on the keyboard or in the control panel, and you can control the mute and volume. The control panel is at the bottom right of the screen. Click on that, you get a slide up, and you can access the sound or the brightness. Notice you see the speaker, there's an arrow to the right of the speaker. You can also change the volume of the microphone, like if a student's volume is up way too loud on a Zoom call, for example. I want to spend some time with the accessibility features because they're awesome. Click on the gear at the top of your control panel. Remember, control panel is the one at the bottom right of the screen. Just click on the clock and your control panel slides up. And sadly, the accessibility features are like a well-hidden secret because you have to like open up the control panel, click on the settings gear, go over to advanced, click on that, suddenly more options drop down. And accessibility is the very bottom one. It should be the top one and easiest to find. But once you click on accessibility there, you'll see a new pop-up and there's this little slider you can turn to on, so it's blue, that says always show accessibility options in the system menu. And once you do that, the little accessibility icon shows up in the control panel and you can just click on it there to access all the accessibility features. Let's look at some of those features. You can do a self-guided tour with this little web page, and that's called SFUSD Every Day. And I'm actually going to go and show you a video in a second of the accessibility features, at least some of them, because I can't demonstrate them live on screen. So let me go to the resources and click on this overview video.
You or your students sometimes struggle in accessing features and technology. I understand you're the IT trainer at the New Academy's Trust. And today, we're going to be looking at accessibility features on the Chromebook. With the increase in technology that also comes.
Now, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. And okay, now he's going to dive into some of these features.
I do find it a bit ironic that you have to scroll down to the very bottom, click advanced, and then scroll down to the bottom again. So that's making the accessibility features not very accessible, but here we can see manage accessibility features. So now if we click on manage accessibility features, it will take us into some of these things. So the first thing I can do under the text to speech is click on enable Chromebook. What this will do is then read out loud.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you about some of these features only because we have so little time, but the Chromebook speech feature that you see there, which will also be in your control panel bottom right of your screen if you enable that feature like we talked about. Chromebook is a screen reader that reads absolutely everything on the screen, everything. So if you are fully visually impaired or severely visually impaired and you're not able to see if you're even hovering over a button or the text or a picture on the screen, the Chromebook feature will tell you everything that's on the screen. Just hover your mouse over it and it'll tell you what that is. However, if you are able to see what is on the screen a little even, you can enable select to speak. And select to speak means once you turn it on, and there's a little microphone that appears down in your tray at the bottom of your screen. So when you click on that microphone, then anything you drag your cursor over on the screen, it will read it out loud to you. So if you have a student who has a hard time reading, you can show them to just drag over the text with their mouse and release, and the Chromebook will tell you what it says. Very helpful.
I'm clicking on or hovering over.
Okay, another feature.
As I said, you can change the settings. You click on here to make it slower or faster, the pitch and volume as well. There are also some different languages, so you can choose a different language, and you might have an option for some more languages here. You can actually purchase additional languages and voices, so there might be something that's more appropriate.
Okay, I did want you to see that. If you can just, in this web page that's in the slides, again, I wish I had time to give you the full tour, but we're condensing an hour into a half hour, basically. If you were able to go explore this website that is in the slides called Everyday Accessibility. There was a session on it this morning, so you can actually just watch the session too. But the Everyday Accessibility website will give you the option of exploring a device, including Chromebook. So click on Chromebook, and then you can drill into all of the accessibility features on the Chromebook. For each feature, there's a short video, so you can just watch the video, and then you'll be all set. I wanted you to learn about some G Suite features as well. That's Google Suite. If you have a Google Doc, you can go over to Tools, and you can click on Voice Typing. And once you do that, then anybody can actually start typing by voice. So let me actually create, for example, a sample document, brand new doc. And once I do, I'm going to do some voice typing for you. Your Chromebook has a voice typing feature as well. So you don't just have to be in a Google Doc to voice type. You could be like surfing the web or writing an email or any of that. Activate voice typing in the Chromebook, and then students can just start talking once they click on the microphone. So this is a new Google Doc. It's going to take just a second to load because I'm using my camera. Let's try turning off my camera. Well, while that loads, I will get back to that. Sorry, I'm having a slow internet today, and with a 30-minute session, that matters. So I'll get back to that. But basically, you just go click on Tools, and then voice typing. A little microphone icon appears. So click on the microphone icon, and then you can just start talking. And if you are talking in a different language other than English, go over to where it says File in your doc and choose the language and just select a different language that's not English. Now, I did want you to know as well that you can also translate any amount of text. So right above the voice typing is translate. And you can show parents to do this too, because Google Docs is free to them. They can create a Google Doc, and then they can click on translate, and they just have to choose what language do they want to translate to. And then it will create a brand new doc that is the same thing, but translated. And you can also do this yourself if you have, like let's say 3 different languages in your classroom that are spoken at home. You can translate your things into 3 languages. It probably won't be perfect with Google Translate, but it'll be pretty good. Just let families know that it's not going to be perfect. Okay, also in slides, when you're presenting, down at the bottom of your screen, I don't know if you can see this on my screen, but there are 3 dots that I'm going to click. And one of the options after I click that is to have captions. So that's what I'm using at the top of my screen right now, is I had turned those captions on. And then in Google Meet as well, there's a closed captions button. By the way, if you're presenting to a large room, you might want to just enable closed captions even when you're presenting live, just for everybody's benefit, so they can have one more way of following what you're saying, especially if it's a big room with a lot of parents at a meeting, for example. Very quickly, to optimize your Chromebook's performance or your students, I did want you to be aware that a couple things you can do. One is move closer to the Wi-Fi source. In your classroom, there's probably a white box near the ceiling. But in school, your Wi-Fi is probably pretty strong. This is more for use at home. Also, reduce the demands on the internet that your device is making. So you can stop video. That reduces the demand a lot. Actually, I think I stopped video and okay, it's back on. I stopped it for a minute to get my screen to load earlier. Also use speaker view instead of gallery view. So instead of having the whole Brady Bunch showing, just the view of one person, that's less to process. Kids are great at opening up new tabs. They're horrible at closing them. Teach them to close all the tabs they're no longer using. That will free up internet bandwidth. And very important, teach your kids not to just close the lid every day, but especially at the end of the day, at least once a day, have them turn off the device fully by clicking on the power button, top right, and then choosing power down. That will not only flush out all the things that are in the memory that could slow it down, but it will also cause the device when it starts up to run its automatic updates, which happen very quickly, but they're important to do. For more resources, there's this slide that has lots of videos. Also, there's that Everyday Accessibility webpage for the accessibility features that was earlier in the slide deck. Please do check all of that out. It's very helpful. Here's the video playlist right there. That takes you to the webpage as well. And we hope to be offering the one-to-one tech tutoring for parents and staff, where a tech person, a volunteer, can have up to 2 sessions to teach you Chromebook. I had this sort of grayed out because the service isn't live yet. We're still working with the SF Ed Fund to set it up. We hope to be able to offer it. I just can't guarantee that we will, unfortunately. Okay, I don't have time to ask you what's one thing you learned because we're down to just a minute and I want you to be able to go to your next session. I would encourage you, however, if you would take a moment to offer feedback, and I'll put that in the chat. One piece of feedback I would probably say is that the session was too short, and I do apologize for that. Unfortunately, I just had a 30-minute window, and it's really about an hour of content. But there's the feedback form. I'd love it if you'd fill that out today for this session. And if you do need support, including with Chromebooks, please open up a help ticket. You can email me and I'll put that in the chat. But I will warn you that I am pretty slammed with tasks right now, and I will probably be a slower response than the help desk, which is staffed by a team of people right now, every day actually, to help you out. And they're very knowledgeable and they really like to help people. Actually, that's not my email address. I'm missing a letter. Here we are. Okay. That's what I got. Your time is officially up. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. But for those who would like to, I'd love to have you stay for questions. I'm happy to answer them. However, if you are wanting to get to your next session, that's okay too. I'll encourage you though. Sorry, my Zoom screen has disappeared. Hopefully it will show up again because I lost all my Zoom controls. Nope, they're gone. Anyway, you're welcome to unmute your camera and unmute your microphone and just say goodbye, everybody, just for some sense of community. I know it's been quiet for you. I apologize. But otherwise, you're welcome to go to your next session or stay for questions. I'm happy to help. And thank you so much, everyone. Have a great Digital District Day and a good start of school.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.
We much appreciate you.
Can you put the slide deck in the chat?
I can. Let me do that right now.
And then inside the slide deck, there was the one about something else that we're supposed to go to for all the stuff about Chromebook.
Yes.
In the slides?
In the slides, you'll have everything you saw on my screen today will be there in the slides, or at least there will be a link to that.
It went so fast, but it was like the best the best session today. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Again, I wish it were longer, but go ahead and explore the resources, and that will help, including watch that whole 10-minute video on accessibility. It's very, very good.
Steve, I have a question.
Yes, and because I can't see my screen anymore, thanks Zoom, go ahead and tell me who's talking.
Yeah, my name is Anna. I've been a
Hi,
long-term
Anna.
teacher, but I'm back from leave. So all these systems are new for me. So I'm trying to learn it very fast. My question is, what I do remember from at least when the students had phones all the time, is that it was really hard to stop them from